Okay, so today there's a couple things I want to talk about, and one of the things is I watched this Odin's man. I've been up since 3 again. This is kicking my ass. This is like having an infant again. Man, I'm gonna have to try and go to bed like at 7 to see if I can get enough sleep. I'm so fucking tired, and it's really hard to be like. It's way harder to keep stuff straight, especially if you have a brain injury when you're tired and just more irritable and stuff, like that's all normal. But anyways, and everything is always like, if you already have a deficit, any other things added onto it. That's another reason why I have to take really good care of myself. But anyways, so I was watching this Odin's man this morning, and he has an English Mastiff too. I had seen his dog, like half of his dog's face before. I couldn't really tell if it was like some sort of bulldog or something, but he has an English Mastiff, and I'm having so many problems with mine. This breaks my heart. Anyways, so this video was this, I think it was a YouTube video person, and it's a trans person, and they are, telling us all how we need to be and giving all their points and stuff like that. And you can go in and watch. I don't know what channel this person's is, but on Odin's, he played it. And it's somebody named Riley Dennis, I think. So anyways, she or he or person, they, them, whatever, you they give their points. And so I wanted to give mine, because I think that's the whole thing, is that we're just getting inundated with these certain opinions from certain people, and the other people who have a different opinion, they're getting shut down. They're being called names, and keep it to yourself. But these other people are pushing their agenda. So I just want to point out a few things. So first, I want to do a little bit of history as I see it, because I lived there and lived through it. And so back in the 60s and 70s, there became this movement of this like more progressive, more liberal, hey, we're going to have some fun, more about free sex and drugs, and about like experience, and we're not going to get caught up in all of your limitations and stuff, because they were born from these people who had grown up during the Depression. And the people who grew up during the Depression had went through a lot with their parents. There was a lot of trauma that went through that time that gave birth to those parents. And then they were so frugal and repressed, and they just lived a certain way. These other kids like wanted to break free from that, and they were just like, hey, we're going to go out and have fun. We're going to grow our hair. We're anti-establishment. We just want to go and do our thing. And so there was this movement of change that happened. And that movement of change, then, a lot of other things developed. But part of that development was the movement with the gay people. And they were kind of like, hey, we want to be free and have fun and have sex too. And they were kind of, at the time, it was kind of like, you could think of it as kind of a juvenile kind of expression, like, oh, I really like my boy parts, and I want to go play with all the other boy parts. I want to see what happens, and they, it became very sexual, a very sexual movement. Like if you went to the bars and stuff, which I did, then it was nothing to see, sex going on all around you. It was very open and free, and it was like, guys just want to have fun, and we don't want to be told what to do, and we want people to accept us. And that was the perfect segue for them to bring in another disease, another way to kill us and to cause division and blame it, because there was a movement of acceptance and, hey, I'm gonna do my thing. And so they always have to go in and kind of shred that up. So they started killing people, causing division, and people became very fearful of gay guys. And Then there was, all the women in school, like you thought of them as tomboys or something, and you thought, they were pretty boyish. So, a lot of them were coming out and saying, hey, we want to be recognized. We like the same body parts we have too. So, no shame. And, we want to be accepted. Okay, fine. Everybody accept them. But there still kept being like this attachment of like just free sex, which free sex just became like free drugs. It just became just an empty outlet where people were hoping to get something that they weren't getting from it. They wanted to feel some sort of a connection or something. And I think a lot of times sex can leave you feeling more empty afterwards because you just shared something intimate with somebody and there's no satisfaction in it. And, an orgasm is like your soul, it's like your soul is reaching out for a second. It's not just about the sex, it's about the connection. That's why it develops life. So, but it became this really free time of sex. And the thing is too, with the gay guys, like you think about this, they're like all wanting to be accepted, like, hey, we just like penises. Okay, fine. If you just want penises, that's, up to you. But then it became, so they became isolating. They became like, even name calling, breeders and other stuff. There's always these slang words that they come up with to call us. Like people focus on what these people are calling these people. Like you can't call these people slang words, but these people can call you slang words. They can be disrespectful to you and not care about your opinion, but you damn better freaking get on board with theirs. So there's always this like hypocrisy that is like, there's always that other side. They're always wanting to be on this one side, but there's another side. And so you want us to accept you, but you're telling us that there's something wrong with us, especially the biologics who want to just, go with what they're born with. And then, so that, that even led to then this other, more complex group of people who wanted to deny biologics altogether, at the same time push science agenda. Like, there's just like, okay, there's like, is there just like a disconnect in your brain? Like, I don't understand how you're not seeing like that you are standing for two completely different things. So, with this trans movement and them being like, everybody needs to accept us and all of that stuff. And if you don't want to date us, then you're transphobic and stuff like that. And, I was thinking, it would have nothing to do with, if you fall in love with a person, you fall in love with the person inside. It doesn't matter about the outside. So that, number one. Number two, depending on where you are in your own healing and growth, you're going to be attracted to a certain type of people. So to me, I would no way at all be attracted to somebody who had so much confusion about their their gender and their sexuality. There's so much confusion with this whole giant group about the, we're only going to pick these people to have sex with, but you guys need to also have sex with us and them and them and them and them. But we don't want to have sex with you guys because you're just, you are breeders, you're biologics, you're all this stuff. They're like, okay, so then they want us to, be willing to date them. But to me, have no desire to go out and date somebody. Like I would never... I can't imagine even getting very involved with somebody to fall in love with them when they've got so much going on in there. They need to be more with the people who understand what's going on. They don't need to push us all to understand this is personal, private stuff. Why do you need to push the whole world into accepting you? Like, you need the whole world to accept you in order to accept yourself. If you are having confusion about, all of these things, I mean, no matter what, the facts are in that there is a natural state of being, and it has to do with procreation and continuing a species. It's in all of the species, all of the different ones, even in plants and everything. There's a male and a female. It is how you have to continue. That's part of science. So, and it is a natural desire to want to procreate or to want to be with somebody who could. That's not saying that you're not going to be attracted or fall in love with somebody who's the same sex. And if you guys decide you want to have sex, that's up to you. It should be nobody's business what goes on with you and your own feelings about other people. But when you're, you can't be pushing people. Like, I would just have no reason to want to go out with somebody who's so confused about their own gender identity, and that's what it's all based on. I mean, it's called like gender dysmorphia or something, their diagnosis, and it's all about this confusion, like, how am I in the wrong body? Especially for me, being a spiritual person, I have a different understanding of why you feel out of place in your body. I understand life from the perspective of reincarnation. So it makes perfect sense to me, and that's totally up to you. If you decide like, hey, yeah, I want to go with that. I really enjoy being a girl, and I'm going, I'm going to be a girl. I don't give a shit. If I was born a boy, fuck that. Then that's up to you. And, one thing is I'm always talking about what our future is going to be like. And we're going to have different communities and stuff. And I was thinking about, like in Washington State, we have this little community. It's called Luxembourg or something like that. I can't think of what it's called. But it is a little German town. And it's all, probably it was German settlers or whatever, immigrants that formed it. And they made specific style and buildings. And they've just really, capitalized on that whole thing and added more, and it's turned into like a little Christmas village. But people go there all year round because they want to go in for this experience, because it's something different, it's unique, and you get to go in and have an experience. So to me, when I think about like this, this gender, the people, the dysmorphia or whatever, and instead of always trying to push everybody to be on board with whatever you're going through, instead of it just being your private thing, which, if it is about like you want to educate us on all of this stuff, well, you also need to be aware, that there's other education out there too. There's a whole bunch of people who are transitioned and now they're transitioning back because it didn't solve their problems. And now they can't have kids. And now they don't have as much feeling in their sex organs. And, they're upset. There's a whole other group of older people who already got it, who said it was their hugest mistake. It destroyed their sex life. Like this one guy said, or woman, this person, they had, artificial vagina, whatever, restructuring surgery. And then it was too small. She could never have intercourse. And so, there's a reason to not do this stuff too. And, there's a whole big picture. It's not just like one person's opinion. And when these people just keep coming at us, telling us we all need to be on board or something's wrong with us, if we wouldn't date a trans person, it would have nothing to do with if they're trans or not. It would have to do with attraction. I wouldn't find myself attracted to somebody who is having, such identity crisis as that, other than to, maybe be a friend or to give my opinion or talk to them or whatever. But back to the community thing, I just thought, what a cool, community though. If these people, instead of constantly trying to push the whole world to accept them so they can accept themselves, I think, if they could just, find each other and build, build a community themselves that is their own unique community that they create, that they express, and what a freaking beautiful place for all of us, anybody, to be able to go there and experience it, and to go into their community. And you would have so many different reasons why people would do it, and that would be so educational if you want to, really get it out there, like, hey, we're regular people too. There would be people who would go to buy stuff. There would be people who go to see how the community worked. I mean, they would eventually, you'd have to get some biologics in there, because you would, your community would cease to exist. But, your community could build. And that's what I think we're going to have so much more of, these like more individual communities where people find each other, like tribes, like where they go in and they find people that are like them and they build a community. And then we all get to travel around and experience other people's way of life, and learn about how other people are living and stuff. That to me is beautiful. This constant pushing and pushing that we all need to do this and we all need to do that. This is not a one-size-fits-all world. This is about accepting each other and not pushing all the time. Like, you better accept me. If you don't, you are a bigot. You are this, you are that. No, they just don't know, They just don't understand. And, you can either show through example what and who you represent, or you can just keep shoving it down people's throat and, turning them off and pushing them away. It doesn't make any sense. You cannot force people to accept you. And you won't need other people's acceptance when you can accept yourself. And, and it's a beautiful thing, I kind of reminds me of like a movie like Lord of Rings or something, or The Hobbit or something. I'm not really familiar with all that kind of stuff, but I just think of like these different little communities, like, the fairy community or the troll community, like these different groups that just lived their own individual life, and they could all have it the way they wanted because they were all together. There was so many of them there together. And I think that is like a natural way of being. So I think that's where we're headed to. And I just think, it could be a really fabulous place. And that was another thing too, back in the movement with the gay guys. That's when the whole thing with the flamboyant guys came around, because I always took it as like they didn't want to do all the work. They wanted to be, somebody else do the work. And they got, became those submissives or the bottoms or whatever. And, so much of this stuff all gets turned into fetish kind of stuff. And that's what a trans person doesn't realize either, when they're constantly pushing for this. Well, you're not going to just push, any old guy to be like, well, I'm just going to start going on the, trans dating sites and start dating some trans people. You're not going to get that. What you're going to end up pushing is just more fetish. I mean, you want to just be someone's fetish, or do you want to be respected as a human being? And being respected as a human being, you got to respect yourself. You just got to go out there and just be like, and educating people is not just constantly shaming them and putting them down and telling them that they've got something wrong with them. It's like you need to have a more understanding of like this whole generational cultural thing. This isn't just about y'all. Y'all aren't failed. There was a movement of people who have been wanting to be accepted for decades. And I don't know. I just, it's just kind of nutty because the people who are demanding the most acceptance are the most intolerant of all the people. So I just don't think that they recognize recognize that in themselves. But I do think that there is hope, you know, for people to find their own little groups and to develop that and to create communities. And you would find if there was a, you know, trans town, you know, just like the Amish or whatever, people would go to those communities to go in and experience that, you know, that group. And in my head, I see it as like very, very creative and very like a lot of these people are super, super creative. And I don't know. I just see it as like that could be a really cool little community. That would be a fun one to go to. And telling me like, what would the nightlife be like and stuff. So anyways, I think that there's a future where everybody's going to find their acceptance and everybody's going to find what they're looking for. We just have to learn to fucking dial it back and quit pushing on everybody else. Let everybody just come, you know, just let people come at their natural state. And that is something else that I want to talk about too, kind of goes with this. So I'll be right back.